Hello and welcome to all the ghouls and vampires out there. I'm Joe, here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
Today we're reviewing a fan film, Scream Legacy. This movie is over on Zen House Studios YouTube channel, and we'll put the link down below in the comment section. This movie is a bipolar project. Now, there's 1.1 million people who've observed it, so it's obviously a very popular film. But it's not the best horror fan film by a long shot. Now, there's a lot of really good fan films that are, in some ways, better than the original product. I would argue this one is. I'm not a big fan of Scream. The Scream franchise, I really don't get the popularity of. That aside, this film does a few good things. Like, it has some good ideas. It references Sidney Prescott and the other characters of the Scream franchise. And it has some good explanations for why they are not in the local region of California where Sidney Prescott and the other Scream characters come from. For one thing, their explanation is that Gale Weathers has moved to New York in order to just get away from California and where the Ghostface killers tend to come from. Sidney Prescott had apparently suffered an attack. Her husband had died in the attack, and she fled with her daughter out of state, possibly into the wilderness, and nobody knows where she's gone. That said, it was supposed that her therapist might have an idea, and so Ghostface kills him and raids his files. Then the police decide to raid those files because, client confidentiality is just not something that either serial killers or cops really care about. That said, the police officer who's one of the main leads is someone who, on his first gig as an officer, had to deal with the first set of Ghostface killings. So this is why he's partially called in, because he has previous experience with this sort of thing. Ghostface, though, is almost buffoonish as always in his killings, just having a race after people, knife raised, and just
The telephone stalking.
yeah, which is always struck me as a little funny, and it always ends up making me think of, well, A Scary Movie, which was my favorite depiction of Ghostface. It was the best.
At least there was entertaining.
Yeah. In here, Danny, the Ghostface killer, is trying to avenge his mom because he sees her as a martyr and wants to kill Sidney Prescott. In turn, I think it's Natalie, the main lead here, she's actually totally unlikable. I'm just going to be honest. She's apparently suspicious and mistrustful of her own ex, whom comes to her rescue, but she suspects him to be the Ghostface killer and doesn't trust him until Ghostface shows up. She values her own life over his, which, okay. She's actually quite the hypocrite because I'm not on any political side, but she was screaming about defund the police in her backstory, but then thinks that the police should prioritize her safety over all others and ends up calling them in to rescue her, which is itself a bit of a oxymoron. Because if you don't believe in the police force protecting other people, then why do you think they should protect you? Now, I don't really care about either side. I do see the arguments on both sides to an extent. I'm just saying, there is a healthy middle ground. But her, apparently, according to Ghostface, it's, you were extremely on one side, and you're going to then go crying to the other side to save you. I have to admit, that's a bit hypocritical, Like, he actually calls her out. When Ghostface has more, sanity, that it makes more sense. It's kind of funny. She, on the other hand, ends up screaming and hollering and whatnot her lines out at that point, which, okay, fine, that does make sense. There's a guy with a knife and a gun at her throat, and the problem is she's such a poor actress in this fan film. Well, the Ghostface Killer actor is really good. Actually, in my opinion, better than most Scream actors.
Ah, yeah, that's fair.
And before anyone calls us out, I've seen 3 of the Scream movies, and I've seen the Scream TV series. Scream TV series was better than the movies. The movies were not great. Honestly, I slept through 2 of them, and I barely remember the 3rd one. So, the 4th one recently came out, and I made a vow not to torture myself, because I do love myself enough not to watch that atrocity. Because after 3 movies and a TV series, you kind of learn not to go watch it, because you don't want to, there's plenty of other horrible horror movies I could watch instead, such as Friday the 13th Part 5. Which is terrible itself. But anyways, yeah, I'm not a Scream fan. I despise Scream, and I hold it in complete contempt. But here, I just find the Ghostface in this movie just hilarious for some reason. Now, he ends up killing, like I said, a therapist. He kills a podcaster for no reason. The podcast killing just comes out of nowhere. Yeah, and it plays 0 roles. It has no influence in the story. She plays no role in the story except, I guess, just to die. It doesn't make any sense. And the plot is meandering to the point of ridiculousness and boredom and tedium. But eventually it kicks into action at the end. And it's just Ghostface turning out to be the best friend's boyfriend was utterly predictable. You ended up predicting it halfway and just went, okay. And went on to play games on your phone and just not pay attention to the movie. And you didn't listen to half the movie after that because you were like, oh, screw it. I already know how this is going to turn out. He's going to be the killer. He's going to kill probably the partner with the family, the blonde, and at least maybe 1 or 2 more people. And then Natalie's going to kill him. That's what you ended up predicting.
Yes, and what annoyed me was, here it is in the end.
It went down exactly blow for blow, like you said.
It's like the cop managed to disable Ghostface.
Then Ghostface goes, ah!
And she just grabs the gun from the cop and shoots him.
Yep, executing Ghostface when Ghostface was restrained. Which that's actually an execution. That's murder. So the cop should have actually said after that, okay, lady, hold out your hands. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. You have the right... No, read her rights. Because she actually committed first-degree murder.
She also assaulted an officer of the law and stole his weapon.
Yep.
That in itself is also a major felony.
And he's also going to probably end up getting some questions asked because he allowed someone to disarm him. So, overall, the ending is really, really, really dumb. So, yeah, we don't have any respect for this movie. This movie has no respect for itself.
I shouldn't sympathize more with Ghostface and the main female lead.
Yeah, because he's a serial killer. You're not supposed to sympathize with him. Yeah, this fan film was so bad. Now, this is nothing like the fan film we're going to be doing a more thorough review of, which is the Friday the 13th Vengeance Part 1 and Part 2 fan films of Friday the 13th. But those ones are really good, and we're going to be doing major content on them because there's a lot to be done about those films. So that's hopefully something we're going to get to soon. But anyways, let's rate this movie. I'm going to say this is a quarter star. Now, normally we review between 0 and 4, 4 being perfect, 0 being just an ungodly mess that should never have been created. And this is a quarter star, so it's flirting with ungodly mess. And the reason? It's not quite just refuse, is that at least the Ghostface Killer is decent, and at least the one cop actor is pretty good. That's it.
I'm going to vote quarter star for the same reasons. And the Ghostface, there's lore behind him.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
That's it. That's all.
Okay, in that case, I'm going to raise mine to half a star.
I'll still keep it at a quarter star.
Okay. Quarter star, half star. How would you guys rate it? And gals, to be fair. Next time, hopefully we'll have more Scooby-Doo content or something, or hopefully we'll finally get our long Friday the 13th Vengeance Bloodlines review sorted, because that one's really long and taking a lot of time to edit. So if you want to stay tuned for that or the next Scooby-Doo video or something, do feel free to smash that like and that subscribe button.